Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stoppage Time podcast. It's been a while, George. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks yourself. How have you been, Val?
I've been very good, thank you. Very good. It's been a busy January, February, but we're finally back. I think the boys needed a bit of a time off again. It's been a hectic January and February for all of us. But look, we're back into it. We're gonna get into some football talk. A lot has been happening. Uh, First of all, let's mention our boys against Leeds.
Yep.
Uh, what do you think about that game? Yeah, I'm sure you've watched it. I watched it as well.
Oh
I'm sure
yeah,
you've watched.
absolutely buzzing. Obviously, one
Can't,
a.m.
can't miss the
kickoffs.
derby. We can't miss the derby.
Obviously, 1 a.m. kickoffs in Australia are never easy to stay up for, especially when you're staying up till 3:30 a.m. on the dot. But oh, what a game though! Look, it's
Definitely,
one
it
of the
was.
things. It's one of the things. My emotions after full time. I don't know if it was good. I don't know if it was bad. But oh my god, it was entertaining, and we loved every
Yeah.
minute of it.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
The
Yeah.
first half, I thought we came team selection with regards to Champions League coming up against Atletico midweek. I thought that was bang on. Whether you agree Varane should have started or not, whether you agree any play in the starting lineup, actually, whether it be Maguire, Varane not playing, Rashford not playing, Alanga getting a start, Lingard on the bench, Lingard getting a start. I think anything could be justified in that game because we do have that trip to Madrid midweek. And ultimately, I thought no play was worse than a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
What I did like about the team, though, yes, Lingard, while he didn't really inspire too much with the ball, what he did on that right-hand side that Rashford hasn't done the last 2 weeks is track back. And when you look at how
Exactly.
that game panned out, we didn't concede many chances, and that was due to the defensive work rate of Lingard and Sancho on the flanks and Alanga to when he came on. And that's where I think we could lay that foundation to actually go on and produce a solid performance. We really didn't create any chances apart from concede any chances apart
Yeah.
from Leeds' second goal.
I was thinking about it the other day when I finished watching it, and obviously, like you said, Lingard tracking back, something that Rashford hasn't done, or is lazy. I could say lazy, borderline
Oh,
lazy.
lazy is definitely the term that comes to my mind.
Yeah. Another thing came to my mind, and it's like it's been going around for a very long time. The whole Lingard, and even with other players as well in Man United, whether or not they should stay or go. What are your thoughts on like Lingard as a player? Should he stay, renew his contract, or move on?
I think it's clear where his heart is. Obviously, he grew up a United fan, but rightly or wrongly, he hasn't got the opportunities he feels as though he deserves, and I don't think he'll be there at the summer. And I can say the same thing about Paul Pogba. Like, whether you think these players should be there or not beyond the summer, the reality is the January window's closed. We can't bring in any more players. We need to utilize these guys for the 6 months that we have if we are any chance of going on a Champions League run or finishing the top four. Whether or not they should stay or leave, that's a conversation that we have for the summer. And ultimately, for these guys, they've got to put themselves in the shop window because whether their future's at United or elsewhere, the better they play guarantees that they will get a contract in the first place and increases their pay at their next club,
Yeah.
wherever that may be.
That's exactly right. And even with, like you said, you mentioned before, Pogba as well. Like, I think he's trying to put his price tag even further up for
Look,
that
my
move.
analogy for Pogba is like he's like a chick on Love Island, just flaunting everything that they have just so they can get the best possible suitor. That's my analogy
Yeah,
for him.
pretty much. And the question is now, like, he's been targeted with so many clubs. We don't know where he's going to go. He might end up back at Juventus, PSG were on
My
the list, Real Madrid.
Yeah, Real Madrid. That's my personal suspicion, and it has been all along since this debacle's happened with him. But yeah,
Question is, do you think he'll suit Real Madrid? I mean, his style of play is very different. Obviously, he can last in the Premier League, but like as the Spanish league is more slow paced. If you know what I mean, I reckon
I
he
think that
could like
actually suits him. To be
adjust into it.
honest, I
Yeah,
think that actually suits him. To be honest, the slow pace. Like you see how good he is in international football when he doesn't have to deal with that helter skelter pace and the defensive responsibility that comes with it. He's fantastic every time he puts on that French jersey in an international football environment where the pace of the game is naturally a bit slower. That's
and
where
it
we've seen
helps at the
Pogba's
same
best football.
time. It helps at the same time when you got world class players around you. I mean, he's not playing with average players. These guys, the French national team. I mean, you've seen what players they have. You know,
But
but look,
just think
on
of it
the other
this way:
hand,
if he goes to Real Madrid, he's playing with Cruz and Modric next to him. What a midfield three that is!
exactly, and you don't know what they can do wonders with that midfield. But at the same time, I reckon like Italy is much slower than Spain when it comes to like it's not as fast paced as Spanish football. So I reckon he can adjust like
But the question I
even
had for
more.
you with regards to whether he goes to an Italian club, obviously he has his links to Juventus.
Yeah.
Will any Italian club be willing to match his wage demands?
Well, look, the closest the club I can come up with is probably Inter, but even so, like
Actually,
who's
Inter's the
Inter
one that
who's Inter
Inter.
going to replace?
I would say Inter, while they are a big club, because of their ownership situation, I don't see them matching their wages. Ultimately, that let go of Lukaku because they couldn't match his wages, and Pogba will be asking for more.
Yeah, but yeah, look, it's an interesting one with like even with United players, um, like getting transferred and then moving to other clubs. It's frustrating to see as a United supporter, and I'm sure it is for you as well, that the club obviously it's very hard to get rid of them with the amount of wages that they're on. Like it's very difficult. I mean, like we spoke about it off camera. Like even a couple of days ago, we were talking about it, saying that these players are on high wages. Very hard to get rid of them. Do you think that United are overpaying players?
Yes, I do. But in saying that, whether it's United or at another club, that's not the player's fault. If someone comes up to you and say, "I'm going to pay you 150 grand a week," you're not going to say no. I deserve to be paid
Obviously,
105. I
yeah,
think in the case of United, that's because of mismanagement from the previous board and recruitment. The reason being that they weren't football people and they didn't know anything else apart from money to entice players to the club. So that's how we initially got ourselves in the hole. And when you look at the scenario with Mo Salah at the moment, how he's asking for more money, when he looks, let's say, 10 kilometres away in Manchester and sees that Marcus Rashford's on 250k, Martial's on 200, and he's only on 200, he's well within his rights to be asking for the 400k that Pogba wants or is on.
yeah. It's hard now. Football days. It's all about money, of course. Um, it's difficult now because the situation that United's in, like it's our situation's like this now. Like we're like this with the players. You know what I mean? One week they go bad, one week they go good. Like we praise them. Even Maguire now scored a goal against Leeds. And funny enough, I was actually at the same time while I was watching the United game, I had Mark Goldbridge on. I always have Mark Goldbridge on when it's on because I don't know what reaction he's gonna come up with. But before the corner, he's like, "Watch Maguire score a header," and I was like, "You know what? I believe you." As soon as the corner was taken, it was amazing. As soon as Maguire scored that header, I was like, "Oh my god, he was right." And then at the same time, Goldbridge was going off. But it was funny to see. But yeah, look, like I said, like I've always had, you know me off camera, I've always had had a thing for Maguire. Like I didn't really like him, or like it's just like for me, it wasn't a United defender. You know, that's just obviously my opinion. But it's good to see players like Lindelof as well get game time. I mean, it was harsh, obviously, what happened when I think he got broken into. I think his house got broken into.
His house was broken into while he was playing against Brentford.
Yeah, and it was
And
obviously.
that's just a general issue or a sad issue with football as well. It's happened to Reece James recently as well. Like because these away games are so public, we know that robbers know that these players aren't going to be home, and unfortunately, the families have to suffer the brunt of it
Yeah,
when they're stuck at home.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that, I really want to talk about I actually want to talk about the Super Cup as well with Chelsea. Um,
Do you mean the
that
Carabao Cup,
was
Tom?
sorry, the
The Club
Club
World
World
Cup.
Cup, the Club
Yeah.
World Cup. Yeah, I actually ended up watching that game. Um, it was an interesting game, but obviously, leading up to that, I thought I definitely knew Chelsea was going to win. I think there was no obviously with Palmeiras getting a red card as well. Um, Now that Chelsea have won the Club World Cup, do you think they've got a bigger head now? Now that they're considered World Club champions, do you think now they'll give them a bigger boost to push even more in the Premier League
I think that
this
would have been the
season?
case. Yeah, I think it does because it is definitely morale boosting, regardless of. And they did have to work hard for that tournament. Palmeiras were no pushovers, and I do think had they not won that final, it would have had an effect. whereby we would have seen them fall a little bit, as we saw when they had the 2012, when they were at the same stage at 2012 at the Club World Cup and they lost 1-0 to Corinthians. We saw them go on a 6-game run where they didn't win a game in that season, which ironically was United's last Premier League title. But
yeah. Oh, don't remind me about that, bro. Honestly, it's so bad. Oh, it gets painful year by year without a trophy. I mean, it's been what 6 years without a trophy. Let alone the Premier League. It's been 6 years without a trophy.
The 2017 Europa League, whether you want to consider that a trophy, yeah, that was our last one.
It's a trophy. I'd consider that a trophy. Yeah.
That's another debate. We can have that on another podcast. But apart from that, it was the League Cup against Southampton that same year.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you want to consider those cups. I consider them cups, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's obviously been a tough one for
United. While we're on that subject, which one's a real trophy? Carabao Cup, League Cup. The reason why I have the Carabao Cup over the Europa League, the reason being, is regardless of how teams treat it, you are still competing against the best eligible teams in that competition. The reason why I personally have never considered the Europa League a major trophy is because, by definition of the word or of the term, a major trophy should be one whereby the best eligible teams are competing. And in the Europa League, that's not necessarily the case. Real Madrid could be playing in the Europa League, but they're just better than that.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to say good evening to Tom as well from United Podcast. Make sure, obviously, to check out United Podcast as well. That's if you're a United supporter. I know some of us in the group are not United. I'm sure Yanni doesn't want to watch the United Podcast. But
that's great. Yanni can watch Tom and Larry talk about our glorious win at Anfield when that happens in a month's time.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah, the Legends game's coming up as well in a month's time. That's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure we're going to get the boys together for that one. It's going to be an interesting one as well. I think, I don't know, if they said a couple of United players, recent Legends, are going to play. I'm not too sure, but I got to read that. I don't think they've announced anything yet apart from just the game itself. Moving on, I want to talk about, could I consider it a shock upset? Yeah, considering how Tottenham's been going, but the win against City. What a game! That was a
just
shock
from a neutral perspective, what a game!
Yeah, from the neutral perspective, but it was a shock to me because one moment I was looking at the score and it was obviously like 2-1 to City, and then it was 2-1 to City, and then
no, it wasn't. It was 2-1 to
Spurs. 2-1 to Spurs, and then 2-2, and then 3-2. But just watching that game, it just goes to show anything's possible. But it's just like even with the way Tottenham have been going in the last couple of weeks, you can tell that they needed that win, and especially against reigning champions like City. Like whoever thought, like realistically, be realistic, you never thought Tottenham was going to win that game.
Definitely
never in my eyes. I never thought they were going to win that game. But yeah, Harry Kane back to his scores.
I want to look at the bigger picture of that. What Tottenham have showed both in the opening weekend of the season and last weekend is the blueprint of how to beat Manchester City. And ultimately, in my opinion, the reason why City will fall short in cup competitions. Because the way that Tottenham have beaten them is by just not getting overwhelmed, accepting that City are going to have the possession, just sitting back, just absorbing the pressure, not being, as I constantly say with playing City, just don't be overwhelmed and being quick in transition. The way that Kane almost dropped into a false nine, spread the ball to Kulusevski and on quick in transition, and that catches out their fullbacks who invert to try and win the ball in midfield. So if you're quick enough in transition to not have their fullbacks being inverted, winning the ball, you create so much space on the wings, and that has to force one of, whether it be Stones and Diaz or Diaz and Laporte, one of them has to get dragged wide, and all of a sudden you have a 3-on-1, and ultimately that's what Tottenham took advantage of.
And also it's 2 out of 2 wins for Tottenham this season against City. Obviously that 1-0 win in the beginning of the season, and now so they've clinched the double against City this season.
Trivia question for you, Val. Apart from Tottenham just now, who were the last team to do the double over City in any league campaign?
United.
Yes, we were.
I think was it last season or the season before?
It was 1920.
I remember that. And I think we came second that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. No, that was the year we finished third. We finished
We
third that
finished
year.
third. We came second with Mourinho, but then we came second last year with Ollie as well.
Yeah.
So
We did
yeah,
when
nah.
we finished third when we did the double over City.
Oh, come on, don't give me those double things. I know United did the double against City. Come on, how can you forget that? But yeah, nah, that was a good year as well. I'd say we clinching third. It was all right. I mean, look, even with United, we haven't been doing bad. Our position in the Premier League has not been bad, but like we just can't win a league. That's the
Speaking
problem.
of our position in the Premier League, we're obviously in the midst of a top 4 race. How do you see that panning out? Because obviously, as it stands now, we're the ones in 4th place. Whereas I think 6 points ahead of West Ham, but they have a game in hand on us. We're 4 points ahead of Arsenal and Spurs, but they have 3 games in hand on us. How do you see that panning out?
Oh, look,
In terms not just in terms of general, not so much from a United perspective. Try and be as neutral as you can with this.
Yeah, no. Look, I think it's it's going to be difficult for Arsenal as well because you know how Arsenal is right now. These guys are like 1 minute they're going well, they win 3 games in a row, then they go on a 3-game losing streak. It's difficult. I could say this is going to be like the toughest Premier League season, clinching 4th because you've got so many teams on the bottom trying to clinch that 4th spot. It's going to be hard. But look, from a neutral's perspective, this is from a neutral perspective. I still think United's going to clinch 4th.
Yep, I agree.
Not even I could literally take off my shirt and wear another shirt. I would literally say United's going to clinch 4th.
Oh, please take your shirt off, Phil, please.
No, I'm not going to take my shirt off. But
just a shout out to Raphael in the comments as well. Hey, thanks for tuning in.
Hey, babe, how are you? But yeah. Look, I still think United's going to clinch 4th. For me, because I think of the players that are going to leave the club. It's they want to fight for that transfer window. Obviously, they want to leave. They want to get their obviously their price tag higher. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game, like competition for the other teams to compete with United. Obviously, with the players that they have, with the players that we have, but it's the consistency. If we keep it up from now, from the Leeds game that we won up until the end of the season. I mean, how many games do we have left? I think this is 26th round, isn't it?
We have 13 to play. We've played 25.
Yeah. So we got 13 to play, meaning. Actually, let me have a look at the ladder. Now that we brought it up,
just while you're on that, the reason why I'm going to say United as well. Obviously, I feel as though we have players that are better than the rest of the squads that we're competing with, and I know that Arsenal and Tottenham fans will say, "Well, we've only got one competition to focus on. You've got the Champions League." My counter argument to that is they have 3 games in hand on us, and obviously they don't get to play these games in 1 week intervals. So while they may not be in another competition, they will inevitably have to play 2 games a week at some stage as well because the Premier League's not going to be extended for 3 weeks.
I even said it like I was thinking about it the other day as well. Like, yeah, they've got 3 games in hand, but at the same time, like you said before, these guys have to play back-to-back games.
Yeah.
Who knows if these guys are going to be able to last? I mean,
so in my opinion,
us
being in the Champions League, it ultimately we have as many games as they do.
Exactly. So, look, for me, I don't games in hand right now. It doesn't matter how many games in hand you have. It's going to catch up to you. These players are going to get really tired because if you're going to have 1 game rest and then another game, it's going to play a toll on your body. So,
as Tom and Larry have loved to say on the United podcast, if there's any teams that you'd want to have games in hands on us, it's Arsenal and Tottenham because they love choking.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And
sorry, Mick, if you're listening.
Yeah, no. Look, Mick's a United supporter. Bro. What are you on about? That's right. It's fake.
Let's forget about England for a while. Let's move north of the United Kingdom. Let's talk about Scotland.
Oh,
our mate Postecoglou.
Honestly,
what a season he's having.
And shout out to the doubters as well that doubted him before the season. I mean, this guy had so many critics up his ass. If you saw the amount of criticism that this guy was that Postecoglou was getting is beyond me. But I was like, you know what? I didn't say anything. I was like, you know what? I'll let it be. This guy's going to prove him wrong. And look where he is now, top of the league. And convincing win against Rangers a couple of weeks back as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think you know more about Celtic than I do. So let's go ahead with that.
Oh, yeah. The way that the way that he's essentially just got rid of all stereotypes that were around Scottish football at the time, brought in players, but just purely based on their quality, as we've seen 4 J-League players coming in to the SPL this year, which is something that you would never have seen under any other manager. Obviously, Postecoglou knows them very well from his time in the J-League. And also, Giakoumakis, he's played really well. Obviously, the goals haven't come until this weekend where he got his hat-trick against Dundee. Shout out to our Greek mate. But as for the Old Firm derby,
he played for Ajax as well a couple of seasons back. I remember him there. He did one over you guys as well, which was good. Oh yeah, I'm sure you remember that game. It was last minute, eh?
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, it was a 2-1.
Yeah.
And it was just on the Old Firm derby, just the way that Celtic played Rangers off the park. Apart from Ryan Jack's shot that hit the crossbar, Celtic were just all over them.
Literally, I actually watched that game as well. It was so bad to watch. I think for a Rangers supporter, it was so bad to watch.
I think Celtic will inevitably hang on to the top spot of the Scottish League. I think they've got enough to hang on and beat Rangers. I think Gerrard leaving Rangers
got less games than us. I think they've got less games than us.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. But I think Gerrard leaving Rangers had a massive toll on them. I think Postecoglou's next test, should he hang on to the Scottish Premier League, will be getting them into the Champions League, because I know whatever it is that you want to make of the Conference League, they didn't have a positive result at home. They lost 4-2 in that. But I just think whatever happens in the Conference League, scrap that. Whatever. I think Postecoglou's next big task is getting Celtic back into that Champions League.
Exactly.
And let's look across the continent now. A lot of
Arsenal fans... Do you really want to read that comment, George?
Oh, which comment? Still waiting for Val to take his shirt. Raffaello, we all are. But let's say if we can get 50 likes on this video, Val will take his do the next episode with his shirt off. So 50 likes. And
done deal. 50 likes and I'll get my shirt. Like, I'll do it without my shirt. But I'm hoping we don't get 50 likes.
No, smash that like button if you haven't already.
Yeah, I got a feeling she's gonna create 50 fake accounts and just like it all.
A like's a like, doesn't matter. Anyway, moving across the continent, a player that's come in for a lot of criticism this season for his time at Arsenal and his antics scored a hat-trick over the weekend. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the man we're talking about. How have you made Barcelona? Barcelona are actually back in the top 4 now in Spain, for those of you who aren't following. So, how have you made of their, do you want to call it a resurgence from January?
Peter, do you want to answer that question?
Pete, how are you?
I'm good.
Pete, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, guys. What's going on?
So
we're on the topic of Barca.
They're actually back in the top 4 in Spain, and we've just spoken about Aubameyang scoring his first hat-trick for them. First hat-trick for a while, actually. What do you make of their resurgence, since, if you want to call it that, since January?
Well, look, I mean, they had to spend some money to get to that resurgence, which is kind of like, they spent how much on Traore, then they bought Aubameyang, and then they're actually, I heard they're dipping into their youth academy now. So the resurgence is good, but I don't think it'll take them a while for the Xavi effect to come in. However, I think to them come back into the top 4 is massive. Do you know what I mean? It's huge. I mean, where were they? They were like 8th at one stage. You know what I mean?
They dropped to 10th at one stage.
You could say they're back where they belong. I mean, if you put it that way.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Look, the one thing I wanted to... Yeah, so go on, Val.
I was going to say about Barcelona, I mean, you mentioned the Xavi effect as well. I think it's already hit. I think the Xavi effect has already played a part in obviously they're in the top 4 now.
I think the massive beneficiary of Xavi is Frankie de Jong. His game's gone to another level.
Yeah.
I always rated him as a player. Obviously, Pedri and Gavira are both 2 really good young players, but Frankie de Jong for me is the finished article right now.
I just wanted to so the reason why I'm so late is because I was in another meeting and we're just having a bit of a break at the moment, but they're just about to start back up. But I just want to say a couple of things before I leave. And I just want to talk about how people fans and stuff like that, especially the press as well, they tend to diss players about where they've gone or where they're going to and stuff like that. And a prime example is 3 Manx here is Cristiano Ronaldo. So I mean, he had three pretty good opportunities to score against Leeds, but unfortunately now the media is saying, "Oh, is he too old? Is he too this? Is he too that?" My comment on that is that Cristiano Ronaldo is 37 years old. It's not like it's not like it's a move from Man United to Real Madrid when he's still in his late 20s and going into his early 30s, and he's a free kick taker and he's the penalty taker and he's the star player and he's getting hat tricks almost every game. But I just wanted to make a comment to say that I think the resilience that Man United have had in the last couple of weeks, especially against Leeds after they scored within 30 seconds of each other, has really shown the maturity of the team. I mean, you'd expect the old Manchester United from, let's say 6 weeks ago to just put their heads down and either draw or potentially lose. And to watch people like Fred come in and put it up for us, which is, for me, I said in the group chat, as soon as Fred came on, I was like, we've lost. Okay, it's done. It's over. For him to prove me wrong is amazing. And then Alanga as well to score that, to put the nail in the coffin is really really good to see. And I'm glad Ralph has actually started using him a bit more, you know what I mean? And, giving him the opportunities to start and come on as a super sub. So that's kind of my comment for all that. And I can't wait to hear your boys' reaction. But I got a jet. I got work meetings left, right, and center, unfortunately. But I love you, boys. I'll talk
Love you
to you,
too, bro.
and I think we need.
Thanks for joining us, Pete. Good to see you.
That's all right. Good to see you too. I think we need to do one on Friday after the Champions League game.
Yeah, we reckon we'll be at Atletico?
Definitely.
Just quick yes or no. Are we meeting at Atletico?
Yeah.
Beautiful. There we are. Love it.
Beautiful.
All right, boys.
Take care, bro.
All right, I'll talk to you. Bye.
So just a nice segue from there. Pete brought up the Champions League. So obviously we had the first round of games last week, or the first leg of half the games. Any shocks or surprises to you? For me, Salzburg, brilliant performance against Bayern Munich. Just unlucky. They blew a great chance to go up 2-0 in the 80th minute. Pavard with a brilliant goal on clearance and Kingsley Coman bringing you back to 1-1.
Yeah.
Just your general thoughts on the Champions League so far?
I've actually the only game I actually watched was the City one.
Oh, that was slaughter.
City and Liverpool I actually watched those two. Liverpool. I want to talk about Liverpool for a second because a lot of people were saying that Inter was going to win. Now, yeah, Inter are a good team, but come on, man, it's Liverpool. Like, even from a United perspective, I knew Liverpool was going to win. There was no doubt there.
In saying that, Liverpool had to work for it.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I think in Champions League, well, I can't really say anything about Sporting Lisbon. I mean, they conceded 5 to Man City. The shock one was PSG Real Madrid. I thought Real Madrid were going to obviously clean sweep that.
Oh, I think that was just a
that
brilliant
wasn't the
game.
case.
I thought it was a brilliant game. Two very evenly matched teams and a moment of brilliance from Mbappe. Ultimately won them the game.
The question is now, can Real Madrid come back in Madrid?
I think they can.
Knowing Real Madrid and their comebacks in the past, I think they can as well. But if PSG can actually hold their score or even score an away goal, I think the away goal.
On the topic of away goals don't count anymore.
Obviously. Oh, they don't, eh?
No, they don't. So how do you think that affects the dynamic of going into the second leg? Just in general.
I think, obviously, now that you mentioned that, I think Real Madrid will get that.
Just what are your thoughts on that rule in general? Just scrapping
it would have been more. It would have been more stressful if there was the away goal, like if they did have the away goal rule. But now that they don't, I think it's just pretty much. I think for Real Madrid now, I think it's just a 0-0 game.
Look, I actually think I'm actually in the minority of people that actually likes the away goal rule being scrapped. I know, yes, United have had iconic results where we've won on away goals, and I've loved every minute of it. But the reason why I do agree with the scrapping of the away goal rule is that let's say a game goes to extra time, the away team has an extra half an hour to score an away goal, and that home team has less time to counteract that. Also, on the contrary, it adds a bit more suspense to the game because with the away goal rule, there was previously only one possible score that could have sent the second leg to extra time, whereas now you just need an even aggregate score.
I remember those days of I think it was the Arsenal United game when Ronaldo scored that long range at Highbury.
Yeah,
when they were wearing the blue kits.
the blue kit.
It was the
Favorite
year. It
away
was the
United
year.
kit of
It
all
was.
time.
Was it the year? I think it was the year we won it, wasn't it?
No, it was the year
actually, it
after we
wasn't.
lost to Barcelona in the final.
We lost to Barca. Yeah, I remember that. But that was an amazing game as well. I mean, obviously Ronaldo with that long range. That was Ronaldo at his peak. It was an amazing year, but obviously now things have changed. But look, now that the away goal rule has been scrapped, different ball game. But I think Real Madrid have too much firepower for PSG. I mean, PSG are known for choking in the Champions League. They did it against us a couple of seasons ago with Rashford scoring that penalty in Paris. They did it against Barca when they lost at the Camp Nou. I remember
Done
that
it against Chelsea. Done it against Chelsea as well. David Luiz with
Yeah,
the winner.
so if they can fix that curse up and end up, you know, winning against Real Madrid, but it's going to be a very hard one, especially at the Bernabeu. Like, it's going to be a very hard one for PSG.
Yeah, I agree. So just before we wrap up, the Champions League games that we have coming up, tomorrow morning we got Chelsea against Lille, obviously United Atletico on Thursday morning, and a couple of other fixtures.
Benfica Ajax is going to be a good one.
Benfica Ajax, I think it will be a good game. And Villarreal Juventus, which I think low key could be interesting.
It says on my thing, like I'm looking at it now, it says aggregate score 2-0
Of which game?
of Liverpool Inter, and then it says 1-1 aggregate Bayern Salzburg. That's probably not updated yet.
Oh yeah, they've done that because that's how they played the last game. So, that was a result of the end of the last game. So going.
Yeah.
The one I quickly want to get your thoughts on is Villarreal Juventus, because as we've all seen in Serie A, Juventus have been below par, and Villarreal, while they've been pretty average in La Liga as well, have been hard to beat in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of us would have expected Atalanta to go through in our group in second spot, but Villarreal, fair play to them, got through. How do you see that tie panning out?
Look, considering how Juventus has been going in the last, like, obviously this season, now that Ronaldo's left, I mean, you know the Ronaldo effect, but I think, look, Juventus now, it's going to be a hard one because it's unpredictable these days, bro. Like,
I think the loss of Bentancur and Kulusevski is going to affect them a lot too.
It is. That's what I'm saying. Like, football has changed. You don't know who's going to win. I mean, like, whoever thought that United was going to go through in the group? Like, I thought beginning, when we were going bad, I thought, like, we're not going to make it out of the group. But just looking at it now,
I never thought that. But just look, the bookies' favourites actually has Villarreal as favourites to win this game tomorrow. Just
and to be honest,
the one-off game,
Villarreal
has Villarreal the favourites.
I'm not surprised. Like, I won't argue with that. I'm really not surprised because considering, like I said before, Juventus's run now, I don't know what they are in the league, in their league. I think they're out of the top 4.
I think they are 5th, to be honest, actually, but I'll get that up just to be sure.
No, they are 4th. All right,
they are 4th.
Yeah, 4th,
but Atalanta has a game in hand on them, which if they win, they will jump Juventus.
Yeah, I mean, usually around this time, the other seasons, you'd see Juventus either 1st or 2nd. But now it's just a different ball game. Obviously, when they lost those players as well. But look, like I said before, it's going to be a very difficult game. But I think Villarreal can be a surprise package in the Champions League.
So just one quick topic before we wrap up. Serie A, we've been talking about Juventus now. Looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race. As it stands now, AC Milan, top of the table, 56 points. Equal in second place, Inter and Napoli, both on 54 points, but Inter with a game in hand. How do you see that panning out?
I don't see a difference. Like we said before, I don't see the difference between the game in hand now. It's going to catch up to Inter. But look, you know me. I'm a Napoli boy. I've always been a Napoli boy. But I don't know. As a Napoli supporter, I want to see them go through. I want to see them go first. But it's very hard to go because you don't know what's going to happen now. Like, it's very unpredictable. But look, I'm sticking to my guns. I think Napoli can actually come back and win the league.
Look, it is tough to pick. I remember saying in our very first episode that AC Milan would win Serie A, and I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah.
Look, Val, it's been a great show. Long overdue. Obviously, the circumstances in which you went live with Yanni in the last show were not great at all for United fans. Probably one of our darkest day of this decade. But
yeah, it's been a hard one for us, but look, it's
at
been
least
good.
it's been all positive. At least it's been mostly positive since then. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Also, once again, thank you to our sponsors, New Genesis Cheat Day and Cheat Day Sydney, and Apollo Entertainment. And until next time, thank you very much.
See you later, everyone. Take care.